I'm recording this at like 2 in the morning, so if my voice sounds monotone and tired, well, bingo, you got it. I'm tired and I'm sleep deprived. Alright, Far From Home. This is kind of a short, impromptu, not scripted review on Far From Home, but if anybody watches this and wants a more in-depth kind of view on what I think of the movie, just let me know. Hell, let me know if you think I'm completely wrong and I'm just a fucking dickhead. Either way, I'm gonna kind of talk about what I thought about the film. I've watched it twice. I've watched pretty much every other Spider-Man movie that's come out. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man in general, really. I grew up with the Tobey Maguire films. I even liked the, Andrew Garfield ones. I liked Homecoming. I absolutely loved and still love Spider-Verse with an incredible passion. I kind of just wanted to say that, so my opinion doesn't seem like a total cynical asshole who dislikes all Marvel films. I'm actually a big fan. Anyways, let's get down into the movie. What did I think of it? Well, if you're just here to, decide whether or not you want to take your kids to it, you want to take your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your dog, your cat, your bastard child, yes, I do recommend the film. It's very entertaining. I was entertained, even though I didn't really like the film that much. The action scenes are fantastic. You definitely won't be bored in the movie. I know a lot of people laughed in the cinema. The humor, for me personally, it wasn't my thing, but I know a lot of people like that, machine gun blows humor, where it's just joke after joke. Even during serious scenes, there's jokes. But yeah, no, it's entertaining. You won't be disappointed. Dude, you can go onto YouTube and see how many reviewers love the movie. But from a more, well, I don't mean to jerk myself off, but from a more critical perspective, personally, I thought the movie was kind of sloppily put together. Now, this doesn't mean I think it's an awful movie, but I certainly think that there are things about the film that just doesn't seem like a lot of care and precise details put into the making of it. Now, I'm not trying to rag on the filmmakers. Like, hell, dude, I haven't even made a film. This is my first film review, so, compared to, say, something like Spider-Verse or even Homecoming, the film felt very rushed and kind of forced. Now, to specify what I mean by that, forced in the way that humor was kind of, and I'm saying this trying not to sound like a cynical asshole, but the humor felt injected into every single scene, I'm trying not to go into spoiler territory yet, since this is just a kind of a dust covering of a review, but there were scenes where you'd think it'd kind of get serious, or that there'd be moments of actual heavy weight, but there'd be humor in it. In the trailer we see Nick Fury interviewing or questioning Peter. Well, in the movie, he does so. He, sedates Ned, and they're getting down to talking, but instead of it being a straight sort of questioning scene, it's humor, because Nick Fury gets all serious and it's like, yes, it's a matter of human life and blah blah blah, and then the professor comes in, and then all of a sudden, somebody else comes in, and then somebody else knocks on the door, and it's ha ha ha, isn't it funny? Everybody keeps interrupting, stuff like that. For me, got really tiring, and it kept taking me out of the movie. Other scenes felt forced in the way that, upon my second viewing, I could kind of understand that the filmmakers or the writers, whoever, were just making plot so that they could get to where they want. Basically, there are certain things that Peter says or does that the wording is kind of questionable, and no logical or normal human being would say something like that. And, when I first watched it, I was just kind of like, why would he say it like that? That's kind of stupid. And then upon seeing it a second time, you kind of go like, oh, that's why, because the writers needed him to say that so they could set up a certain scene. You know, it's stuff like that. It's like really tiny stuff, minor details for me that, for whatever reason, like despite me being a big ass Spider-Man fanboy, those tiny details really took me out of the film. It just felt like the film wasn't heartfelt. Instead, like the filmmakers were just going from A to B to C as easily and as quickly as possible, not really giving too much idea into it. Other movies, going back to Homecoming, Spider-Verse, when you're watching the movie, things feel like they're continuing on at a pace and at a level of logic that seems, well, logical. It certainly took me out of the moment. It made me go, as a viewer, whether I'm being nitpicky or not, it made me kind of go, oh, okay, well, I know what's going to happen next. So that was also distracting. A lot of people talk about the romance between MJ and Peter. I haven't really seen a lot of reviews yet. I mean, it's only been like, what? When was it? Like 3 days since the film came out, so there's not that many reviews. But from what I've seen, they say that the romance between Peter and MJ is kind of well characterized in the movie. But I'm kind of going to contradict that, because it felt like they were just kind of forcing them together and forcing certain lines to be said. It didn't really feel like romance scenes, and felt more like the filmmakers trying to exploit the audience's feelings. Peter's constantly trying to romance MJ. Like, he has a plan to, get her by herself and give her some sort of gift. But, haha, it's a movie, so, something always comes up that stops them from talking completely. So that keeps happening throughout the film, He's about to confess to her, but then, she goes like, hey, blah, 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 something else.
MJ, I
am Spider-Man.
No, of course I'm not.
I mean, it's kind of obvious.
It's just like these moments didn't feel like actual character building, but it felt more like the writers, again, trying to play with the audience's feelings. Oh, perfect analogy, if you've watched anime. It's basically like when the two main characters are talking and they're about to confess their love, but then out of nowhere, they go, haha, no, just kidding. The best friend comes in and ruins the whole scene. Something like that. It's not as bad in Far From Home as it is in other garbage anime romance things, but I kind of felt like that. It didn't feel like character development. It just felt like constantly trying to play yo-yo with their romance. And so that, again, was something else that took me out of the moments. The actors themselves have great chemistry. It's just the scenes themselves, the writing, the pacing, just doesn't let the characters kind of unravel naturally, and instead it feels like they're being tugged along by the plot rope, if that makes any sense. Mysterio and Peter also have fantastic chemistry. Like, you can look up Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal, and you will see on YouTube tons and tons of compilations of the actors themselves having great friendship and kind of chemistry going on.
I always dreamed of working with him, and here we are eating tacos in Mexico. I'm good, thank you, buddy.
Put a little bit on your
Just take
taco.
a bite. I love you, Jack. I love you so much.
That was weird.
That was so
super
weird.
Yeah. Also because we're both jet lagged. So
I know.
both of us are like, whoa.
I'm drifting.
But in the film, it comes across. It's very nice. Whenever they have a scene together, it feels genuine, and they really do get along well on camera. So when you kind of see Mysterio and Spider-Man talking to each other, it doesn't feel like two actors. It just feels like a genuine character who cares for another character. But again, similar to MJ, I feel like there's a scene in the movie, again, I keep repeating myself, but it sounds really vague, but there's a scene in the movie that occurs that I feel like they didn't give enough time for it to kind of make sense. Like, in the movie, they really, I feel like they kind of dumbed down Peter, not necessarily his intelligence in terms of science, mathematics, or, stuff like that. But in terms of logical sense, like sense-wise, I feel like they dumbed them down, because there's this particular scene where I feel like they just didn't give enough time for it to make sense, and so when it happens, I was like, what the fuck? Like, huh? Peter says things in such a questionable way that no human being would not, like, naturally say, and he also makes decisions, I guess one decision, that is really incredibly questionable, that not even a hormonal, insecure teenager would make, especially a teenager who's gone through what Peter has gone through. I got what they were trying to do, but how they got there just didn't make any sense. There was a way that they could have done it, but it just didn't, His decision just doesn't make any sense to me. As a person who's familiar with Peter Parker, maybe it's a different interpretation, but that's a whole different, different review video thing. The rush point that I brought up earlier, the central idea is that Peter is tired of being or having so much responsibility as a hero, and I thought they were kind of gonna take it in the direction of, like, not as hardcore, but in the direction of Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. That they were really gonna kind of show how stressed out he is, but again, they don't really touch upon too heavily with any of that. There's one scene where he kind of freaks out.
Everywhere I go, I see his face. I just really miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too. I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
Spider-Man, like, on the plane, but like I said, they don't really dive too deep into it. And at the end of the day, I felt like as a Spider-Man film, like, what's a Spider-Man, to me, a Spider-Man's supposed to be is a story about a normal person trying to be a hero. And so you should show that stress that they're dealing with, that, debate, that inner conflict between him wanting to, be a hero versus him wanting to be a kid. Even though they show it, it just didn't feel like it was enough for me. One thing, though, I will say is there's a scene involving Mysterio that I don't want to give away that is extremely, extremely cool. I almost want to give the movie a 10 out of 10 just because of how cool that sequence of events is, comes and goes. I guess in a nutshell, Far From Home is a good movie. You can take anybody to it. You guys will be entertained. It is well made in the sense that it entertains you, it keeps your attention, and you'll come out going like, hey, that was a pretty good movie. But if you watch it critically, and if you're kind of like me and a little more nitpicky with certain films, I feel like you'll watch it and you'll definitely feel like the pacing and some of the humor and relationships feel a little off. Not terribly done, just not subtly or brilliantly done, if that makes any sense. I don't know why everybody says that it's a good movie, like the best. I've seen somebody say that it's the best live action depiction of Peter Parker Spider-Man. It's not. It really isn't. If you want that, I don't even think it's biased, but if you want the best live action depiction of what Spider-Man and Peter Parker is supposed to be, then Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire is what you want to watch. It's an action movie, but they don't really have that emotional sort of impact behind Spider-Man. Hell, watch Spider-Verse. Honestly, watch Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is like a better Spider-Man 2, but yeah, no. The film is not the best live action thing. I'm willing to say that. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, maybe I'm just kind of spoiled by Spider-Verse, because boy oh boy, that movie is an absolute masterpiece. Not even speaking from the Marvel fan base, the Spider-Man fan base, but just from a filmmaking perspective, that film is a masterpiece. So maybe after watching that, I expected something spectacular. From Far From Home, and because I didn't get it, I thought the film sucks. But in general, I felt like the film was just entertaining, but I was expecting much more than that. This is the outro, by the way, so go ahead and click off. But, you know, if you want a more in-depth look or in-depth opinion on it, then I can make another video if anybody's even interested. Or, hey, if you thought I was completely wrong and you thought that the movie was flawless, go ahead, you know, rant in the comment section. I need opinions. I don't know if my opinion's correct, so go ahead and let me know. But as for my little dust cover of a review, I would kind of give this film probably like a 7 out of 10 just because it is well made. It just doesn't feel precisely made, if that makes sense. So 7 out of 10 I feel is generous just because I was expecting a little more because of Spider-Verse. But yeah, go ahead and enjoy the movie if you want. Go ahead and tear it even harder if you want, but I personally didn't like it that much. And I saw it twice, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so yeah. Thanks for watching, I guess. I don't know how to close off these YouTube videos, so yeah. Oh, I don't know if you guys will care more. Oh, fuck, I forgot. I'm recording this at like 1. Yeah, no, if you guys are interested in more about my arbitrary opinions, then let me know, because I've got a Captain Marvel review coming up, and I don't like that film either, but, you know, let me know if you want to hear more from me. I'd love that. I like making film reviews. I've got a couple planned. Honestly, I'm just filling time, because I don't know why I'm gonna go to sleep. So yeah, good night. Hope you guys had a fun 4th of July. I know I didn't. I hate loud noises and the smoke that comes from the fireworks. So, alright. I think I'm done.